My name's Peter Overton. I've been at the Nine Network Australia for nearly 24 years. I began here as a junior sports reporter all those years ago, and I'm now the chief newsreader for Nine's flagship 6 o'clock bulletin, and I'm also a contributor to the 60 Minutes program. I was a reporter on that program for 8 years full time, and that's still a very big part of my life here at Channel 9. Day to day, my role here is to be part of the news process, if you like. I believe I represent all the incredible workers we have, not only in our Sydney newsroom, but our bureaus in Los Angeles, London, Canberra, our helicopter pilots, our network control operators, our producers, our editors, our graphic artists, our chiefs of staff, all the people behind the scenes. I am their representative at 6 o'clock every night, as is Ken Sutcliffe. Of all the work, it's a dot pattern, if you like. We join the dots and we have this product at 6. So my role is to deliver that product every night in a warm, friendly, communicative, hard word, manner. And I take it very seriously, and I see it as a great responsibility, considering the people who have preceded me in this role, the likes of Brian Henderson, Ian Ross, Jim Whaley, and I'm most honoured to sit in this desk every night, and I don't take anything for granted. The days of the newsreader coming in at, I think, 3 o'clock are a distant memory. First and foremost, I'm a journalist, and that's been my role since I began here 24 years ago, and when I worked in other workplaces before that. I have a Bachelor of Economics degree, but I also can present pretty well as well. So I'm up and at 'em at 5 in the morning, 5:30 in the morning, papers, television, Twitter. My iPhone's never out of my hand. I do radio in the morning with various broadcasters in Sydney. I also do radio in the afternoon with broadcasters in more, I suppose, regional areas within the Sydney footprint, if that makes sense. So the MacArthur and Hope Radio. I believe me talking about the news to those people engages me with their audience and hopefully engages our brand with the audience. So I see that as a critical role in my day-to-day work schedule. I also sit on the production desk, a huge production desk where we have executive producer, supervising producer, producers, news director, network news director, and I sit on the desk as well. And I'm involved in the daily process of arguing the news rundown, of saying, why are we leading with that story when I think that story's better? Why should that story be there? Why don't we do this? Does that fit? But you've got to pick your arguments, and I'm very, you pick your battles, and it's a great collaborative process. I don't have editorial control, but I have a voice because we've achieved so much in the last 5 years in terms of taking Nine News to the undisputed #1 news brand in Sydney, the biggest city in Australia. Our news director and our executive producer have the editorial control, but I certainly have a strong voice, and I'm involved right up to 1 minute to 6, and then of course I'm on air delivering the news for that hour between 6 and 7 o'clock. And then I go home and I still think about news.
Peter Overton, National 9 News.
The stories of our lives.
Japan's tsunami disaster deepens.
The moments we'll never forget.
10 years of me life down the drain.
Peter Overton has the experience to make sense of it all.
She was a big, angry monster. So ended the longest manhunt. This was the deadliest tremor.
For almost 30 years.
And I've just read to you as I've come down in the lift.
He's been out there.
Life couldn't be better.
Getting the story first.
For the first time, his first one-on-one interview.
Experience no one else can match.
Good evening, I'm Peter Overton.
That's why you see it first on 9 News, Sydney's #1.
The news does change on air. That's the environment we live in now, because it's driven by technology. We've got technology that I can cross to a reporter with a laptop and a 4G dongle in the side of it in London and talk to them live into the news. So I'm wearing an earpiece. The executive producer will say, Pete, the chopper's in the air over a factory fire at Liverpool. We don't know much more, but the pictures are amazing. Out of this story, I need you to ad-lib. And I can ad-lib that like that, because you're dealing with 3 facts and you're a journo and you know what to say. You know what's going on. I remember at about 5 minutes to 6 when Kevin Rudd was Prime Minister the first time round, there was a huge Commonwealth meeting of all leaders, and they were trying to work a new health program out. And the EP said to me in my ear, "You're going to interview the Prime Minister off the top. This has happened. This has just been resolved with health issues." And I was across the subject. I knew it was the big story of the day. So I said, "Good evening. This arrangement has now been made. Western Australia is still the fly in the ointment, but Prime Minister Kevin Rudd joins me now from our Canberra Bureau. Prime Minister, good evening." Boom. I had 2 or 3 questions that I quickly workshopped with the executive producer, down my earpiece and my microphone. But you have to be across your stuff. The days of locking a bulletin in and not varying just ain't happened, because technology is the driver. Technology, is just such a news gathering tool now, and social media is as well. But you've got to check your facts with social media. You can't just rely on Twitter says this. You need to do your journalism, and then come to me in my earpiece and say, "We've confirmed that this is happening. This is being said on Twitter. Let's go for it." Well, if you're getting facts on Facebook or social media, you still need your basic tools of journalism to check those facts. You can't just go willy-nilly to air and say, "Well, Twitter's saying this," or "Facebook's saying this." And an example was when that Qantas, I think it was QF32 out of Singapore, had that engine explosion on the Airbus A380. And suddenly this social media started bombarding us, not just us, but everyone. But it wasn't just words like Qantas plane crashes. You could see the engine cowling with the Qantas logo on an island off Singapore in Indonesian waters, I think. So we were getting these incredible images and going, wow, something is obviously happening. This is before the airline had actually, I think, got a statement out, because they were obviously really concerned about what was going on. So we had that a groundswell of information and images, but we still tread carefully in saying these are the reports that are coming in. We're still waiting to hear from the airline. However, these images would suggest something's happened. You need to check your facts. So you've got to be on the phone to Qantas. You've got to be on the phone to CASA, the Safety Authority. If a train, you get Twitter feeds saying trains run off the tracks at Milson's Point on the end of the Harbour Bridge, that's probably coming from passengers who are on that train. So, if you're seeing images and you can see it's off the tracks, well then, you're onto the authorities, you're onto ambulance, you're onto police, you're onto fire and rescue, you're onto the Sydney trains. But you're also treading that line of, getting it to air. But you've just got to be sure of your facts, because you don't want to be left, with egg on your face or traumatising people for, no reason. And you've also got to think of why you've achieved so much as a news organisation, because you dot the I's and you cross the T's. The environment's tough for employment for young journalists and would-be reporters, and I think skills, you've almost got to stand out from the pack of it, and you've got to be able to write, you've got to be able to have a good voice. But the key skill for me, and I see it a lot, is people want to be, I think, well known for the sake of being well known, and not having the passion for the course they're actually studying. They're not passionate about being a reporter or a journalist. And social media is a great feeder of, and I've seen it. I've seen young people going, that he knew me or she knew me, and it seems to be almost more about, I was recognised, as opposed to my job skills. And I've seen their job skills and they're not that great. So you've got to want to do it, and then you've got to make yourself. You've got to learn those skills. It's not just going to come to you. You've got to, get your voice overs right. You've got to get your writing right. You've got to get your on-camera look right if you want to work in TV. And then you've got to believe in your dream, because dreams can be extinguished too quickly by people saying, no, it's too hard out there. I'm a great believer in encouraging the dream and giving it everything you have. And you're not going to work at Channel 9 Sydney or the ABC Sydney first cab off the rank. If you want to do it, you've got to go bush, you've got to go regional, you've got to go and work your guts out. You've got to work 4 or 5 stories a day. You've got to do the court case, the road accident, the sports story, the opening of the, park swing type thing. You've got to do, that's the bread and butter. Then you come to a metropolitan news station, and I'm talking TV, if it's like Brisbane, Melbourne or whatever, you've got this incredible skill set of being able to write fast, do a story fast, process it fast. But dream and passion are the key ingredients to success. Don't just want to be on camera for the sake of being on camera. You won't last a second. I think one of the most challenging aspects of my job as the newsreader, the presenter for the 6 o'clock news, is when it comes to children and murder, pedophiles, car accidents, highly emotive subjects. And my role is not to impart that emotion, my emotion, on the viewer, because they are in charge of their reaction on the couch or wherever they're watching it. However, it's a fine line, and I think what you see with me is what you get on air is what you get off air. So I'm not over dramatic, but you can see it in my face, my voice, my look. It's nuance. So I try not to be overwhelmed by it, because I've got 2 children and I think of them. There's terrible stories. You know, I have this saying, we say good evening, here's what's bad about your day. So I find that really, that's the challenging part of my job. And also I've got to, you know, keep my opinion to myself in terms of, you know, if you don't like what a politician says or whatever, it's not my role to sit there and back announce and say, well, I don't think that's right or whatever. It's up to the person on the couch. But I think just keeping it real is what I'm about, and I don't find that a challenge. It's the nuancing of not over sharing how you feel or whatever. And it's natural. That's how I do it. I'm just who I am.
Hello everyone, Peter Overton in the Nine newsroom. We're preparing now for our 9:30 national bulletin on the bushfire crisis that's not only affecting the state of New South Wales, but of course Tasmania and Victoria. Tonight we'll have extensive coverage. I just want to introduce you to the behind the scenes people that make it all happen. Behind me here is the production desk for the bushfire special tonight. We have a team of senior producers working on this. All women, so I'm a very lucky man. I work with these great women who put this our 6 o'clock bulletin to air, our 9:30 special tonight, and they're getting a giggle out of that anyway. So come for a walk through the newsroom. So they're working very hard. They've had long days. We've also got, of course, our helicopter out there with crews who've been in the chopper for up to 8 hours, really working hard in smoking conditions, and really great piloting from our chief pilot here at 9 News. Okay, down here is the edit suites, and these are the editors who are compiling all the vision that our camera crews and reporters are sending in. Incredible technology we have here that we can send it in from the field now, not only from our satellite trucks, which we have a couple out in the field, but from live from the helicopter we have a link, and of course through the internet. Technology now allows us to send files of vision and of course voiceovers, which makes news gathering so much better. We don't have to rely on feed points, which we had to do not so long ago, where you'd literally go to a telecom, as it was then, or Telstra feed box and play your tapes out. So we can get the information and the pictures to you as it happens a lot quicker than it used to be. So they're our editors who work terrifically hard. We've got our graphics team here. Dan over there in the green shirt is doing the graphics for tonight's bushfire emergency 9 News special. You can see them on the screen. He designs all of that. And Buzz over there in the glasses and the navy shirt, he does similar work as well, so a critical component of our coverage here at 9 News. And finally, this is what we call News Exchange, and this is where all the vision comes into, it's a central hub, the central part of the octopus, if you like, and it comes in here and is dispersed into our desktops and our computers on our desks, where we can look at the vision. A very important part, a critical part of our news gathering operation. And then, where the lights are shining, that's the news studio that we will do the 9:30 news special tonight on the bushfire emergency, not just in New South Wales, but in Victoria and Tasmania as well. So that is our job. We'll bring you the latest information. On that, we'll talk to, hopefully, the Commissioner, Shane Fitzsimmons from the New South Wales Rural Fire Service. We have reporters in Tassie and in Victoria, and I hope you can join us at 9:30 for that coverage. See you then.
I reckon the best part of my job is the people I've worked here with. You know, I've been here 24 years, and we're a best team. When things are tough, we're still the best team. And when things are great, we're still the best team. There's no cockiness or whatever. It's just fun. And everyone respects each other, and I love that. I love Ken Sutcliffe and I have this fabulous friendship on camera and off camera. In the newsroom, it's just happy banter all day. But when that big story happens at 5 or whatever, it's a machine, and it makes me so proud how it kicks in. 60 Minutes was one of the most extraordinary experiences of my lifetime. 8 years travelling 8 months of every year to corners of the globe, like whether it be Russia or the Okavango Delta or Namibia or, all over Africa and the United States and Europe. Incredible. And they were pinch yourself moments every day of those 8 years, thinking that this is fun, this is awesome. And I don't know, I just think being able to be who you are, that's fun. And being invited into people's homes is a privilege because people have a decision to make, they have a choice, and, I go home, content. But it's not everything work. I've got a great balance in my life with my family as well. And that's made me a better reporter having children as well. I think because it brings balance to you and you can actually move your focus from 100% to doing your job to, it's still 100%, but you've got other things which actually bring a lot more to the table in the bigger picture, if that makes sense. I think just to be a good journalist, you've got to be true to who you are, you've got to have ethics, you've got to be authentic, you've got to check your facts, you've got to represent people correctly, you've got to be passionate about what you want to do and do it with integrity. I think that's a pretty good skill set to bring to the table, but passion, Some of the great journalists, they're passion. Dogs at a bone. But just enjoy it. And I have for a long time and hope to for many more years to come. To make connections with people in the media is a challenge in its own right. There's no question. I think educational institutions, whether it be you guys or whatever, they need to build relationships with the network and the newsrooms in question. And then I see, we get inundated with people doing work experience, and sometimes there's just too many people in there. But sometimes you do see the diamonds, and we've got very perceptive people up there, that chiefs of staff and so on, who say, oh, she's good or he's good, I'm going to send them out with that cameraman, and they come back and you go, wow, they took initiative. They brought this great interview back that we thought we were just going to get a bit of vision. And I've seen those people come on a freelance basis and then progress through the system. It's rare, but it's having initiative. I've seen a ton of young people given an opportunity in this newsroom, and it would be the same in newsrooms across the land, where they come in and they sit on their phones, they Facebook or they do whatever they do, and they don't. And you go, how are you? And they go, oh, it's 3 o'clock, I've got to go. And I think, man, you have got the front row seat to the number one newsroom in this country. Wouldn't you be here from 6 in the morning till 7 at night doing whatever was asked of you? So that can be disappointing, and they're not going to make it, those people. They're the ones that I think aren't in it for the right reasons. The ones that are, you see them, and they go for it, and occasionally you'll pluck them out and say, we have a freelance position, what do you reckon?